हेलो एवरीवन, वेलकम टू माय चैनल AWS सॉल्यूशंस हब। आज हम देखने वाले हैं व्हाट इज मशीन लर्निंग एंड व्हाट आर इट्स डिफरेंट टाइप्स। मशीन लर्निंग एक एआई का सबसेट है। इसके पहले वाले वीडियो में मैंने एआई के लेयर्स आपको समझाए थे। अगर आपने वो वीडियो नहीं देखा है तो मैं आपके लिए यहाँ पे लिंक दे रहा हूँ। आप वो वीडियो देख लेना। जैसे मैंने कहा कि इट्स अ सबसेट ऑफ एआई इकोसिस्टम। इसके अगर डेफिनेशन हम देखने जाते हैं, सो मशीन लर्निंग इट्स अ सिस्टम दैट लर्न्स पैटर्न्स फ्रॉम डेटा एंड प्रेडिक्ट्स आउटपुट, बट इट डजंट हैव ए प्रोग्राम इनसाइड इट। ओके, इसमें कुछ कंडीशनल प्रोग्रामिंग नहीं है। फॉर एग्जांपल, कलर येलो है तो बनाना वो प्रेडिक्ट कर देगा, कलर रेड है तो एप्पल प्रेडिक्ट कर देगा। ऐसे नहीं है, इसके अंदर होते हैं अल्गोरिदम्स। ओके, इसमें कुछ प्रोग्राम्स नहीं होता, इसमें कुछ मैथमेटिकल अल्गोरिदम्स है। ठीक है। एमएल में कंडीशनल प्रोग्रामिंग नहीं होती है, इसमें होते हैं अल्गोरिदम्स जो डेटा के पैटर्न को समझते हैं एंड लर्न ऑन इट्स ओन एंड प्रेडिक्ट द आउटपुट। ओके, सो जैसे फॉर एन एग्जांपल मैंने यहाँ पे कुछ स्क्वायर बॉक्सेस निकाले हैं, ओके, विथ सम कलर्स। थोड़ा जूम इन करता हूँ मैं। तो आप यहाँ पे अगर देख सकते हो, कुछ ग्रीन कलर के बॉक्सेस है, कुछ लाइन के साथ सर्कल्स है, सम डायगोनल बॉक्सेस आर देयर। सो एआई क्या करेगा, इन पैटर्न्स को समझ के, मतलब इसमें कुछ ऐसे कंडीशनल प्रोग्रामिंग नहीं होता है कि स्क्वायर बॉक्स ग्रीन है तो उसको एक कैटेगरी में रखो, देन पिंक वाले डायगोनल्स को एक कैटेगरी में रखो। नहीं, इट अंडरस्टैंड्स द पैटर्न्स। ओके, एंड बेस्ड ऑन दैट वो फिर ग्रुपिंग करेगा। ठीक है। सो जैसे डेफिनेशन में कहा है, इट इज लर्निंग द पैटर्न्स। ओके, एंड इट ए doesn't have a conditional programming inside it. Okay, so there are basically four main components I can think of in ML. Okay, so there are more four main components involved in ML. जैसे if you can see, I can little bit zoom in. Okay, hope you guys can see now. So इसके फोर मेन कंपोनेंट्स कौन से हैं? डेटा, algorithm, model, and evaluation. Okay, so what is data? Okay, data पे फोकस करते हैं पहले। Okay, before we understand these four main components, okay, we'll keep this image in mind. Okay, there is a chef. Okay, you can see there are some ingredients, and the chef is making a dish. Okay, and there is a spoon. Basically, somebody is testing the dish. Okay? So ये analogy ध्यान में रखना while we are explaining the data and these four components, like जैसे मैंने data, algorithm, model, and evaluation. Data. Without data, AI ML cannot learn anything. Quality of the data is very important. Okay, हमने अगर इसको garbage input दे दिया, then it will generate the garbage output for you. Okay, so what data you are giving to the model, okay, to the ML, based on that it gives you the output. And this is where data analyst and data scientist help to use the to get the quality data. Okay, so what is quality data? What can be classified as quality data? Okay, so this is where I've mentioned कि एक क्वालिटी डेटा में क्या क्या होना चाहिए. इट शुड बी, I mean, accuracy, relevance, and cleanliness. Okay, accuracy is nothing but how correct data values, okay, compared to the real world. Okay, basically correctness of the data, correctness of the data. So how correct these data values are compared to the real world, which is very important. Okay, so that is accuracy. Relevance क्या है? How useful data is for the specific ML task. For example, your ML is about identifying fruits and you are giving him some animal images. It's not a relevant data for ML learning, right? So the data has to be relevant. Yeah. Cleanliness, error-free data is very, very important. Okay. It should not have missing values and there has to be zero noise. सो एरर फ्री डेटा देना बहुत जरूरी है. अगर आपने एरर फ्री डेटा एमएल को इनपुट दिया, यू विल गेट, आई मीन एररनेस डेटा अगर आपने एमएल को दे दिया, यू विल ऑल्सो गेट द आउटपुट विथ एरर ओनली, है ना. इसलिए आपको डेफिनेटली यू नीड डेटा, आपको डेटा तो चाहिए. ओके, इट शुडंट बी just too much data. Okay, it has to be more good data. Okay, so if you can see, मैंने यहाँ पे इसीलिए वो लाइन लिख के रखी है. Too much data जरूरी नहीं है. Okay, it shouldn't be a too much data. It has to be more good data. Okay, all right. Then let's go to the next part, which is okay. To our this image analogy. So what is data? Data is nothing but ingredients. Okay, जो शेफ जिससे वो एक डिश बनाने वाला है. So what are the ingredients it has? Okay, so that is nothing but a data. Now algorithm. Okay, algorithm मतलब it's a learning process, okay, of computer to find patterns in the data. It has some mathematical rules, okay, but how ML learns patterns, okay, what it has inside to make it that makes it to learn patterns, okay. Machine learning different, there are different types of machine learning which I've mentioned here, like there is a supervised learning, unsupervised learning, reinforcement learning, and semi-supervised learning. For now, just remember these names. I'll be explaining you what are these later in this session. Okay. So again, coming back to the analogy of this, if ingredient is data, okay, then the chef who is making the dish out of those ingredients is nothing but an algorithm. Okay, so that's how I'm relating to this. So data is nothing but ingredients. The chef who is making a dish is an algorithm because he's using that data and creating some meaningful out, output out of it. And इसके अंदर अगेन सुपरवाइज लर्निंग, अनसुपरवाइज लर्निंग के अंदर अगेन सब टाइप्स होते हैं. देयर इज अ लीनियर रिग्रेशन. ओके, there is something called linear regression. There is non-linear regression, classification. So there are multiple types. I am not going too much detail into that because that is somebody who is a data scientist is very interesting to know about this. So, but we will touch base upon that what exactly it is later in the session. So every algorithm has its own purpose and it adjusts its internal parameters like weights and biases to adjust its accuracy. Okay, so that is nothing but algorithms. Okay, then come next is model. Okay, ऊपर एग्जांपल में हमने जो डिलीशियस डिश बोला है, ओके, सो इंग्रेडिएंट, देन शेफ यूजेस दोस ingredients and makes a dish, right? So जो delicious dish है, it's nothing but a model for us, okay? It's a mathematical function that takes input and produces some output. Uh, for example, if email is spam or not, that is something model can identify definitely using the algorithms. Okay. So yeah, model just uses those algorithms. We give some input, it produces some output based on the algorithms written inside it. So it will predict the output based on that. So that is a model. Evaluation, okay. To relate to our analogy, evaluation क्या है? So somebody is testing it, right? So उसमें नमक कम है, then he will say no, correct it, add some salt. अगर मसाला कम है तो बोलेगा नहीं, मसाला थोड़ा ज्यादा डालो. So we are doing some continuous evaluation. There is a cycle, we are testing it until it becomes a perfect dish. There is a cycle we are, testing. So that is nothing but the evaluation. Okay. एमएल को इसमें ट्रेन किया जाता है बाय शोइंग द मॉडल डेटा सो इट कैन लर्न पैटर्न्स एंड इम्प्रूव. Whole point is of evaluation is to make the model smarter and smarter day by day. Evaluation का meaning है वही है, we show some new data and we see how accurately it produces the output using that data. Each cycle of training and evaluation reduces the error and makes model more perfect. जैसे मैंने कहा, it's now testing your dish. Okay. So इसमें ना एक there is a concept called as loss function. That is where it uses, that's how it uses to make the correction. So loss function basically model को क्या बताता है कि how badly basically it has messed up. Okay. So whether it is giving a good result, bad result. So that is something the loss function tends to. You can read more about loss function, but I just wanted to just touch base upon the loss function part. So you can learn. There are some good guides on YouTube also which goes more in depth about loss function also. So that is what those are the main four components involved in machine learning: data, model, algorithm, and evaluation. Okay, then I hope this image and our analogy relating to these four components helped you to understand this four main components. Okay, जैसे मैंने कहा कि ML में ML has four main types. Okay, supervised learning हमने ऊपर देखा है, right? Supervised learning, unsupervised learning, reinforcement learning, and semi-supervised learning. So let's try to understand that what it is. Okay, let's try to first understand supervised learning. Okay. सुपरवाइज लर्निंग में आपके पास लेबल डेटा होता है. ओके. लेबल डेटा क्या है? इट्स रॉ डेटा दैट हैज बीन असाइंड सम लेबल्स टू ऐड सम कॉन्टेक्स्ट और मीनिंग. इसमें आपके पास नोन इनपुट एंड नोन आउटपुट होता है. सो if you're giving banana image, you are expecting it is giving you a banana image as an output. Okay. If we show model images, okay, जैसे मैंने यहाँ पे दिया है कि हमने बनाना का एक लेबल इमेज दिया है, एप्पल का एक लेबल इमेज दिया है. So by showing these images, algorithm will learn from these examples to make predictions. Okay. Basically, this is an example of again classification. सब टाइप, जैसे मैंने कहा कि इसमें रिग्रेशन एंड क्लासिफिकेशन कम्स अंडर सुपरवाइज लर्निंग. So this is the example of classification where it is classifying the images, classifying the data based on the labels. So इसका एक रियल टाइम एग्जांपल ये हो सकता है कि ये टू आइडेंटिफाई दी ईमेल्स आर स्पैम और नॉट. तो इसको क्या करेंगे हम, आपके पास ऑलरेडी डेटा है कुछ ईमेल्स का विच आर लेबल्ड एज स्पैम एंड नॉट स्पैम बेस्ड ऑन सम क्लासिफिकेशन, कैटेगरीज, टाइप, कैटेगरीज. ओके, फिर आप ये डेटा इस मॉडल को देते हो बेस्ड ऑन दिस लेबल्स एंड अंडरस्टैंडिंग पैटर्न्स. अगर if you give some unlabeled data because it has already learned now what is spam email and not spam. Okay, because हमने लेबल डेटा के साथ इसको ट्रेन किया है. सो अब जब नाउ यू वांट टू आइडेंटिफाई द ईमेल इज स्पैम और नॉट, सो उसको आप लेबल करके नहीं दोगे, एक रियल टाइम इनपुट दोगे, जस्ट एन ईमेल, प्लेन ईमेल, and based on the trained data it will identify that whether the email is spam or not. Okay, so that is how the supervised learning works. So इसमें बेसिकली हम लेबल डेटा देते हैं. जैसे मैंने कहा कि इसके अंदर दो मेन टाइप है, रिग्रेशन एक है एंड क्लासिफिकेशन. एंड अगेन it has many. Again, there is something called, I believe, KNN, KNN algorithm also. So as I said, like I'm not going that much later because that's not needed for me. But if you are really interested to go learn in depth about these algorithms, there are plenty of videos available on YouTube which you can learn from. But to give an example of linear regression, okay, basically regression क्या होता है कि it draws some graph, okay, and based upon the given data it draws a line, and the data should be as much as close to this line, okay, to get an output. Okay, so for example, I just मैंने linear regression का यहाँ पे example दिया है. So height and shoe size. Okay, अभी आपके पास डेटा है of person's height and its shoe size. Okay, so आपने वो डेटा मशीन लर्निंग को दिया, बेस्ड ऑन दैट उसने एक डेटा प्लॉट किया है. ओके, सो अब नाउ यू वांट टू प्रेडिक्ट कि सपोज जिसका हाइट 164 सेंटीमीटर है, 65 सेंटीमीटर है, उसका शू साइज क्या होगा. सो बेस्ड अपॉन दिस ग्राफ डॉटेड इट विल आइडेंटिफाइड समवेयर हियर, ओके, कि 165 सेंटीमीटर के बंदे का शू साइज मे बी समवेयर 6 या 7 आएगा. ओके, so this is how it works. It has some numerical numbers and values for prediction. Okay, whereas classification क्या करता है, it works on category, type, different class, and इसके अंदर एक सब टाइप आता है logistic regression. जैसे अगर if you want to identify if a person fits into A category or B category, whether it's a male or female, then you have some classification based on genders, and then it will identify, giving with the data given, it will identify its person is male or female. So that can be the example of this classification. But I hope you have understood the supervised learning. So supervised learning may keep in mind there is always labeled data. You know the input, you know the output. So ML or the system learns using this labeled data, and whenever we give some new data, some unlabeled data, then it predicts the output based on the learned data that we have given to you. Okay. Then next is unsupervised learning. यहाँ अनलेबल्ड डेटा होता है. जैसे सुपरवाइज लर्निंग में लेबल डेटा है, यहाँ पे अनलेबल्ड डेटा है. तो ये एप्पल एंड बनाना इमेज को हमने कुछ लेबल नहीं दिया है, बट it will try to learn from these images. It will try to learn the patterns and structures from the given images, try to group those data. Okay, simple example, जैसे हम एक जैसे मैंने यहाँ पे एक दिया है कि छोटे बच्चे को अगर हम मिक्स ऑफ फ्रूट्स दे दे, जैसे मिक्स करके बनाना, ऑरेंजेस, एप्पल, टमाटोज, एंड उसके सामने रख के उसको बोलेंगे कि सबको अलग अलग कर दो कलर के हिसाब से या उनके उनके टाइप के हिसाब से. सो वो बनाना को देखे उसके शेप, कलर के हिसाब से बनाना को एक ग्रुप में कर देगा, एप्पल का शेप कलर देख के उनको एक ग्रुप में कर देगा। सो हमने उसको कुछ नाम नहीं दिया, हमने उसको ये नहीं कहा कि ये बनाना है, एप्पल है, ऑरेंजेस है, but based on colors, shape, size, now it is grouping the data. Okay, so it's a exactly unsupervised learning is that. So we give some unlabeled data, but based upon some patterns and structures, system learns it, and it tries to group the data. Okay. Then there is something called reinforcement learning. Reinforcement learning, it's trial and error. Okay, so there is something called as agent is there, okay, which interacts with the environment is nothing but the system where we are doing some testing, and whether it produces the output right or wrong, based on that it gets a penalty or reward. Okay, अब reward मतलब सच में उसको कुछ reward नहीं मिलता है. Reward is nothing but it's numerical signals which indicates it's a good or bad. Its last action, मतलब जो भी action उसने लिया है, it's a good action or bad action based on some numerical signals, उसको वो reward के तौर पे मिलता है. So basically, agent receives some positive and negative feedback based upon how it is generating the output. Um, to give a example, maybe you can think of whenever we train a dog, um, you reward dog for a good behavior, right? And you shout at dog if there is a bad behavior. So over the time, dog भी सीखता है. Dog learns what actions leads to rewards and what leads to shouting again. So that is what the reinforcement learning is. A real time example अगर मैं देना तो self driving cars जो है, okay, या फिर any decision making systems, okay, those are nothing but the example, real time example of reinforcement learnings. या फिर जैसे मैंने यहाँ पे इमेज दिया है reinforcement learning के लिए, कि robot is trying to walk and grasp the object and somewhere it fails, then we again give some new data and trial and error mode पे चले जाते हैं. Okay, so that is the real time example of reinforcement learning. And the fourth type is nothing but semi supervised learning. So it's a fusion of supervised learning and unsupervised learning. जैसे हमने कहा कि supervised learning में labeled data होता है, unsupervised learning में unlabeled data होता है. So it's a mix of both. So it uses some labeled data to मतलब to guide and learn from it. Okay, so आपके पास क्या है कि unlabeled data बहुत सारा है. Okay, but you don't have that capacity, money to invest into labeling this data. So what you do is you have some subset of labeled data. Okay, to give an real time example, जैसे समझो कि in medical industry, okay, some hospitals suppose have 10,000 some millions images of scanned images, maybe of like x-ray accident के जो भी होते हैं, spine and bones जिसके जो भी images होते हैं, and वो label नहीं है. Okay, then you create some subset कि hand के x-ray का, then you give a label to him, brain scanning उसको कुछ images होगी. So you create some subset, and using this subset you try to label this unlabeled data. So that is what mix of labeled and unlabeled data is nothing but the semi-supervised learning. Okay. So जो ये subset होता है, it's very important. It's like I guess मैंने बोल भी दिया, it's a gold standard labeled data you can see. Yeah. So because using that labeled data only आप unlabeled data को classify, grouping जो भी करना चाहते हो कर सकते. But it needs both labeled and unlabeled data. So that's why it is called the semi-supervised learning. Okay, I hope you have understood what is machine learning, what are the four main components involved in machine learning, what are the different types of machine learning. As I said, I did not go in depth for each of this type because maybe that's not needed for me. But if you're really interested, there are, as I said, like plenty of good videos available on YouTube. Then you can watch those for in-depth knowledge of these subtypes of machine learning. Okay. With that, I take a leave and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you. Bye.